are going to just jump right in and introduce some amazing guests to you today. We are going to be talking about bringing equity to remote learning. This is a part 2 in our series in equity, and today we're going to talk about special populations. So just
Speaking of
can't
special
wait.
populations, we just had someone pop in, Cynthia she's a teacher at the Deaf and Hard of Hearing School of Arizona. So excellent. So happy to have you.
Wow, welcome, Cynthia, and we're looking forward to hearing your tidbits, advice, and knowledge as well. And all of you who are joining us today, remember, we just facilitate here. We know we can learn as much from you as you can from us. So, oh my goodness, please share, and share. It really is appreciated by all of our viewers. We are Canyon Professional Development, coming to you live from Grand Canyon University's homes, but ultimately that's who we represent. And lucky enough, we have a couple of experts that not only assist with Canyon Professional Development today, but also are doctors in education at our College of Education, and they know a lot about special education. So I can't wait to get started. Just so you know, we have a full team behind what we do here. Our efforts are echoed by our leader, Dr. Tacey Ashby, and our operations team, Shonda, who is right here, is online as well. So she will be helping as well, and our operations team. And here's our Canyon PD team, and all of these directors are here to support you in your school, charter, public, private, Christian. We're excited that y'all are here. My name is Corey Raza. I am the K-12 STEM Outreach Director. Blessed to be here with you. 17 years teaching in computer systems, English as a second language, Spanish, and STEM integration here in the great state of Arizona. And Marnie, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm the K-12 STEM Outreach Manager for Grand Canyon University and Canyon Professional Development. And this week I'll be in the background, kind of just working the chat. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. She says background, but really she's really integral to everything we do, as is Carolyn Flora, elementary guru. Carolyn, if you would introduce yourself, please.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn Flora, and I'm the K-12 Outreach Development Manager. I have over 23 years in education. I was fortunate enough to teach grades K through 8, not all at the same time. I also worked under the Title I program, and I was a reading coach and a site-based, a district ELA coach. And another one of my very important jobs is that I am the mom of 6 beautiful children.
6, that's a lot of children. Thank you so much, Carolyn. We are so blessed to have you as a part of our team. And without further ado, let me unveil the 2 amazing experts today. They're going to introduce themselves. Dr. Rebecca Dyer, could you introduce yourself for us?
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Rebecca Dyer, and I'm a professor in the College of Education at GCU. I teach on campus ground classes, all specific to special education. So I've done some work with specific to dyslexia, and I'm also very passionate about inclusion of individuals with disabilities. So I'm the advisor for a couple of clubs on campus that really support that, and done some podcasts on those types of things. So definitely things I get very excited about. And I'd like to also introduce Dr. McCabe.
And I will, there we go. There you are, Dr. McCabe.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Dr. Crystal McCabe. I'm an associate professor in the College of Education with Grand Canyon University. I have 14 years of experience working in the field of special education, mostly middle school. I know I love those dramatic hormonal kids. But I did go down and really challenge myself with those little babies in kindergarten as well, working self-contained with emotional and behavioral disorders, also as a resource teacher and co-teacher up until becoming a college professor. When I'm not a college professor, I'm a licensed associate counselor providing Christian counseling on the side.
Wow, how lucky and fortunate are we? Not only the amazing experience you have in the classroom, but also the experience that both of you have with your doctoral journeys. And oh my goodness, we're excited to get right into some neat content about special education students. And we thank you so much for graciously offering your time today. So we appreciate it. And again, like I said before, YouTube link, that will be available. So all the show notes you can share with your friends, and the podcast link that Dr. Dyer was talking about, that will also be in our show notes. So you can get all that you can from these experts today. Before we get right into content, we want to make sure that you remember why we do what we do, and that is to empower, educate, and inspire our community so that you all will take action to fulfill your purpose and to serve others. So when you learn something new today, please don't be afraid to share it with others and inspire them to do their very best and know that God's got your back in everything you do. So with that said, Carolyn, would you like to set the stage?
I would love to. Well, we are all very excited to be here today and to get lots of wonderful information. And Dr. Dyer and Dr. McCabe have chosen this quote, and it's a wonderful one. It says, "Every student can learn, just not on the same day or in the same way." And I know today we are talking about students with special needs and how we can meet their needs, but I think this quote really applies to all students in the classroom, right? And us as adults as well. So I think it's really important that we focus on different ways to meet needs, even though we are now working and teaching our students in a remote environment. Makes it a little bit more challenging, but I think today we're going to find out some tips and tricks and strategies that can help you do that a little bit better. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Corey.
Tips, tricks, and I'm excited because I know as a teacher, Carolyn, I have had plenty of special education students in my classrooms, and I've never really felt extremely comfortable. I've tried, and I just keep needing tips, tricks, and ideas. So that's what I'm hoping for today. Our objective, the goal is to understand how to serve students with special needs in remote learning environments. I can't imagine what it's like right now as a parent or a teacher, having your child really need some extras and being challenged to not be able to give that to them. So let's learn about this. Those 3 strategies, including organization, establishing routine, social emotional support resources, and ongoing communication with families and students. I can't wait. When we're finished with the content piece, please, please, please evaluate our session. That is how you will earn your PD certificate today. And again, we are graced and blessed by Dr. Dyer and Dr. McCabe. They will lead us through our closing prayer. So we hope you stick around for that. So without further ado, Carolyn.
Okay, so I am now looking for a wonderful volunteer. If you look at this screen, you see a toolbox. As you leave us today, we want to make sure that we have added a few strategies to your toolbox. So what I'm looking for is someone to volunteer a really easy job to be our tool master. It's a big title, easy job. All you need to do is, while we're going through our presentation, you're probably going to be taking notes anyway, go ahead and bullet a few of the tools that you can take away with you today. And at the end of our session, you can go ahead and just pop those into the chat. Super easy. Pop them into the chat, share them with everybody, and you're done. So who out there would like to be our tool master today?
Tool master, tool master. And again, if you just remember one tool, no biggie, that's all we need. Just pop that in the chat. Trust me, I've got a big mouth. I'll continue to talk about the cool tools that we have. So please, who volunteers to be our tool master? We're looking for you. We're looking for some special person.
All right.
And it's Cynthia. Cynthia Boring Jackson, that is fantastic. Thank you, Cynthia, for being our tool master. Go ahead, Carolyn, you can give her some love too.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So at the end of our webinar, I'll remind you that you can just pop those tools into the chat and we will look over them. Thank you so much for volunteering. And so now I am going to hand it back over to Dr. Dyer and Dr. McCabe, and they are going to start off with a tech tool. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to be sharing the link to this particular tech tool in the chat. So I'd love for you all to go ahead and go to that link. And then I'll share with you a little bit about this particular tool. It's called Padlet. And I like it a lot and I use it a lot. One reason I like it is because I like to use it for students to collaborate. So I actually used it a lot as we moved ground classes to being at home. I wanted to have a way for them all to jump in and be able to collaborate, see each other's feedback and comments and work. And it's real time, so they could see right away when one of their classmates would post something. And then it's really nice because once you fill up your board, maybe you collaborate on a project, you're actually able to download everything that's on it as a PDF and take it with you or print it out, whatever you want to do. So I put a few questions kind of just to get us thinking about our topics for today that I'd love for you to go ahead and answer. One question is, what is one positive thing that you've experienced during these school closures and this big change? I'm a positive thinker, so I wanted to see if you could think of something positive that you've experienced during this. Also, what's one thing that you're struggling with? Because obviously it is a big change. So what's something that it has been difficult for you? And then what's something you would like to focus on right now? I was kind of thinking like a goal maybe you have, and it could be from that thing that you're struggling with. What's a solution you're going to try to work on, a goal to help yourself be successful during this time? So I'll give you a minute or so to go ahead and see if everyone would like to respond to those questions. And then maybe we'll have a second to have a couple people share their responses if you'd like. So go ahead and jump into that link and share your thoughts.
So I popped that link back on here so everybody can see it. It's bit.ly/3agc7kx. It is in the chat now. You are going to need to just highlight, copy, paste it, because Zoom allows you to just do that so that we don't click on things we don't want to click on. So, but it comes right over here to this area, so to this link. But I'll just leave that up for just a minute. Looks like, oh, Carol's got it in the chat as well. Awesome. So cool. Yeah, Pam, I'm new to Zoom too. So awesome. We all are, you know, kind of new. I just pretend, I just play and practice, and I admit my failures because I fail all the time. That's how I learn.
And once you get in there, if you're not sure, you know, where to respond, the little plus sign under each question is where you click, and then it'll open up a box for you to put your response. So
sometimes there's a plus sign down here. There's a plus sign here, right? So you can just click there, right? So what's one thing you're struggling with? And you can click that. What's so neat is that I can update this right here, and I can see new, everybody's talking. So I'll talk right now. My child is not doing his homework. And he admits it out loud, like such a brazen child. I don't know if that's happy or not, but that's me. And this is great. Like what I'm saying, like just playing here. And as a teacher, you know, we can pull those, or we can leave them, because I like leaving, right, Dr. Dyer? Sometimes it's just nice to see there's no right answer here. That's what I really like about Padlet.
I agree.
I mean, there could be a right answer, I suppose, if you're asking for an answer and you want the right answer, but Padlet is, for me, is like a brainstorm. And for special education students, I think, does it intimidate them at all, Dr. Dyer? Do you feel like this is
No, I don't think so. And that's one thing I was going to say. It's very user friendly. I like to try technology, but I'm hesitant if it's going to be difficult. This is very user friendly for whoever's setting it up, and then also the users. There is a limit as far as how many boards you can do for free, and then beyond that you would have to pay. But what I do is after I'm done with a particular board, I just delete it, and that way I don't have to pay, you know, for the full account. So that makes it kind of nice.
Or can I jump in? Can you guys just put the bit.ly link in there again? We have two different links. I mean, I can chat. I think that's why people are struggling.
Whoops. Put the bit.ly link into the chat, or put the like right up here. Okay, let's try that. That might be easier.
In the chat, that would be really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Carol, for jumping on there. Yep. We're just learning. I'm just popping that in there. There's a couple of different links there that I got all excited. You will have to highlight the link, copy and paste it into a browser tab. But that's what tech tools are all about, right? Dr. Dyer, Dr. McCabe, what we as, especially in a special education situation, I think we have to make the environment safe for our students, you know, and say, it's okay. Technology is, I don't know it either. I'm just trying. I just want to get to the point. But I have to say, we do know it, because look at this, Dr. Dyer. You got all kinds of responses here.
You guys are doing great. And we can take a look at some of the responses if you want while you guys are jumping in there. I'll just share some of the things you guys have talked about. So as far as something positive, I see lots of great things. Being more comfortable with some different technology that maybe we haven't used before. Someone mentioned YouTube. Same for me. I was so proud of myself when I did a video and uploaded it to YouTube, and I sent it to my students, and I was like, wow, I've never done that before. But someone also mentioned just getting used to seeing and hearing yourself on video. I don't know if I'll ever get used to that, but yes, that could be difficult. I like that someone mentioned someone that's doing student teaching currently and was working on top of that, but now is able to see her husband more, which is really cool. I agree. We've had a lot more family time. Teachers have been awesome in reaching out and helping and supporting each other with technology and sharing strategies with each other, which is great. What are some things that we're struggling with? Not doing their homework, yes. Communicating with parents and students, that can be tricky just because each family is going to have different resources and we might have to communicate with all of them in different ways. Students not attempting assignments, not doing their work, that's going to be very tricky. Work-home life. That's really difficult because now we're not only teachers, but we're having to do our parenting job at the same time, which is very tricky. Independence. Tired of looking at the screen. I agree.
Yes.
I feel like tired of sitting at the computer. It's a lot of sitting. Yeah, taking care of our kiddos. Okay, good. I think it's good, hopefully for you guys, but it's good for me to hear that I'm not the only one struggling with a lot of those things. That's very helpful. What is something that we want to focus on? Interactivity, creating those videos, tools for supporting, and hopefully you'll get some of those today. Keeping the learning fun and learning more. Great, those are really good things. I like that. Good job, guys. So hopefully you'll like this Padlet. Play with it, check it out. You can pick different backgrounds, you know, pictures and colors. I think you can even add your own. So you can be creative with it and try it with your students.
Thank you. That's a great tool. Hint, hint, Cynthia. Great tool.
Oh,
Go ahead, Carolyn.
okay. So as we listen to Dr. McCabe and Dr. Dyer share all this great information with us, in addition to our tools, I'd like you to think about some takeaways. And maybe at the end of the webinar, we'll ask Dr. Dyer and Dr. McCabe to share if they had one thing that they wanted you to be sure to take away from today's webinar, what would that be? But be thinking about it as you are listening to all the great information that they have to share. And once again, at the end, I will bring this up and then see what you came up with.
And there's just a resource here for you as well. You can make a copy of this takeaway document, and it just gives you a place to write down your takeaways. So if you would like that, that's for you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Corey. Now we are going to go ahead and hand it over to our experts and learn some great new strategies today. Dr. Dyer, Dr. McCabe, it's all you.
Awesome. So the first strategy that we're going to be looking at will be just setting yourselves up for success, how to walk parents through this and how to help them get organized and be prepared to work with their kiddos. I think we need to go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So when I was looking at these, some of these is like, well, that's super obvious, but it may not be, just depending on the family situation. This may be totally new to them. And as teachers, we kind of have that organization brain already. And so sometimes it's hard for me to remember that not everyone does. So sometimes they need these tips and tricks. So I'll go through them and share these different ideas. Number one, create a learning space for the child. Depending on the home situation, encourage parents to have a separate space for their child, if possible, obviously. That maybe it's not the best to be in the living room right next to the TV. Maybe they need quiet space. Depending on how many children are in the home, maybe they need to be able to be away from their siblings. Maybe you rotate the kids through that little workstation so that they can really focus. Number two, I think this is important for all of us. Make a schedule and stick to it. You know, they need to be planning ahead and working on that schedule and sticking to it, because everyone's going to benefit from that routine and structure. And in a little bit, we'll take a look at some picture schedules you guys can work with. Number three, reducing distractions. That can be tricky because some of those distractions are out of our control. I've noticed being home, I never noticed how many weird noises there are in my neighborhood. It can get really loud, and that's completely out of my control. So obviously just focusing on the things we can control, and that goes back to your schedule. So you making sure there's work time where there are no distractions. Using a calendar and color coding it. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love color coding things. That's just how my brain works. I think especially for parents who have more than one child, that's going to be a challenge. So maybe each child has a different color on that calendar, and you're going to work through getting everyone organized so they know the expectations. Getting plenty of exercise. I was talking earlier about sitting so much. It's a lot of sitting, being on the computer all day, every day. So working that in, and I was doing pretty good with that with the really nice weather, and then it got hot this week. So maybe we have to be creative if we can't go outside, you know, doing it earlier in the evening or doing things inside. But as we know, when kids get their wiggles out, they're going to be more productive. So we want to encourage them to have that time for movement. Number 6, see which accessibility features help your child. It has been really awesome to see in different ways teachers sharing resources, but even I've looked through a lot of that and I got overwhelmed because, wow, there's just so much. So encourage parents to just, even if it's just one thing that they find that helps their child, use that and focus on that, and encourage them to not feel like they have to try everything that's being shared, because that can be very overwhelming. Number 7, definitely, and some of you talked about this as a struggle, being able to connect with parents. So we want to encourage the parents to stay connected with their kids' teachers as much as possible. And like I said earlier, that might have to look different depending on the parent. They may not feel comfortable jumping into Zoom. Maybe it has to be a phone call. Maybe they just want to text back and forth. So individualizing that communication is very beneficial. And number 8, looking for ways to remove, and I can't see, there's something covering that. There we go. To remove learning barriers. You guys, you know the students really well, but the parents do too. So having them like walking through, say, hey, tell me about your school day. What's getting in the way of that work being done, and how can we work to remove those things that are getting in the way? We're removing the barriers. But I would encourage the parents to just focus on one at a time, one thing at a time that's getting in the way. Just encouraging them and keeping everything positive, I think, is very important. Quite a few people talked about our own personal kids are not doing their work. And to me, that's overwhelming. So just keeping everything really positive, like, hey, you're doing the best you can. Give yourself grace, give your kiddos grace. No one really knows what to do in this situation. So we're all going to do the best we can and focus on helping our kids be successful. So let's take a look at, this is a really neat resource, this website. Some of our kids rely on pictures for communication, and that really helps them understand, this is what we're doing now, this is what we're going to do next. And this is awesome because it's a free resource where you can plug in pictures and do a picture schedule. I like anything with pictures too, because that's how my brain works. So you can go through and create an individualized picture schedule for your students so they know what's going to be expected at what time of day. Sometimes we can use that as an incentive too, right? Because they might see, oh, there's math and there's some other work I have to do, but oh, look at that next picture. That's where I get to exercise or do something fun. So encouraging them with those pictures is great. This particular one has a database of pictures you can pull from, and it's pretty extensive. I also like, if you are, creative and a little crafty, I like to take actual pictures of things and make picture schedules. Now that I say that, though, I don't know if you can go pick up pictures that you've had printed. I'm not sure. But at some point, it is really cool to make picture schedules with actual pictures that you took of the actual items. But this is a great way to pull different pictures and make a picture schedule. So check that resource out too, because you might be able to share that with some parents that would really benefit from that.
Dr. Dyer, I just wanted to chime in there. I love this idea that you're sharing. And I have a student with special needs, and a schedule is super, super important to him. And one thing that I found very helpful was his teacher actually shared their daily schedule from their classroom. Nice. And although we couldn't, mirror it exactly the same, I was able to make something that was very similar. And another thing I was going to share with you that he really likes is autonomy. So if sometime, like every now and then at the beginning of the week, would you like to change something in the schedule today? And he has about a 60-word vocabulary, but he loves to pick a card and put it in a new place. And So I love this idea. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you mentioned that, because that is such a powerful thing to let students make choices, you know, because then they have ownership and they're like, yeah, I picked that and that's on the schedule. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
The next strategy, this one's very important, talking about social and emotional support for our students. Like we just talked about, we know they thrive on that structure and routine. And wow, we just threw a huge kink in it, because now they're not going to school, seeing the same people they saw every day, and now they're home all day with parents that may or may not feel equipped to support them. So I think it's a priority over academics. You know, you really want to make sure, how is their social emotional development right now? Because you can't really worry about academics till you know that they're set and feeling okay. This first one is asking them questions, and we actually have a resource for you that you'll be able to access. I think we're going to pull it up, with just different question starters that you can use if you're not sure how to start the conversation. So especially with school, you could ask them, you know, what are you feeling about not being in school right now? Are you frustrated? Are you okay with it? Are you sad because you miss people? And sometimes we don't know how we feel, and that's okay too, but getting them to start having that conversation. Also with their feelings, asking them, do you feel kind of angry because you're missing out on school? Is there anything you're afraid of? Do you notice a difference in your feelings, and how can I help you process that? Support, you always want to be letting them know that you're going to provide whatever support they need, and it's okay to share whatever they're feeling. There's no wrong answer, that they can share whatever's on their heart. And then self-help, obviously we want them to be able to self-monitor if they're working towards developing that, you know, like, oh, you're feeling angry or frustrated. Okay, what are some steps you can take to work on that so you don't feel that way anymore, and see if they can come up with their own strategies. So these are just some ideas. There's lots of ways to ask questions, and obviously as you know your students really well, you'll know what will work well for them. And as we go back to this slide, I was thinking about this slide too, because when I say ask questions, I thought, when I think about my own kids, I have 2 teenage boys, and they do not like it when I ask questions. So sometimes you have to be creative. Like, it doesn't have to be an explicit question. It can be a conversation where you kind of guide them to that particular topic. That could be just my kids or just teenagers, I don't know, but just something to think about with the questions. Sharing updates with them, and whatever meets their developmental level. This is a very different time in our world, and there's constantly new information coming out. They may not have access to that information, so sharing updates with them on what's happening in a way that they can understand and process. And then if you have a student who is able to access that information, making sure that they're able to process it, because it can be really overwhelming with everything that's coming out. Providing opportunities for reflection, so huge. There's something called zones of proximity. No, that's not right. I'll think of the name of it. But it's an activity where you take the students through it every morning and ask them, like, how are you currently feeling? Do you think you're going to feel this way all day? And that's okay. Or do you want to work on maybe feeling better if you're angry or frustrated or sad? And what steps can we do to help you with that? And then you check in with them a little bit throughout the day so they can reflect on, yeah, I did feel better because you gave me that opportunity to exercise, or now I'm extra angry because I missed my phone call with my teacher. So continually checking back with them on that and how they're processing things. And valuing their feelings. We all want our feelings to be valued. So obviously, if you're going to ask them questions, you need to be willing to accept any response, because that's their feelings, and making sure that we validate those feelings and making sure they understand it's okay, however you're feeling, and we're going to be there to support them. And then we're going to take a look at.
Yes, these are these mental health moments. So this is a really great resource that you guys can check out. And these are great exercises that you can do with students, or encourage parents to do with their kids, or as a parent you can do with your kids, or as teachers you can do this for yourself to help with some self-care. But these are just some different strategies that you can click on. So if you can click on grounding for us, and you'll see here that it kind of gives you a little bit of information about the exercise itself, and then it actually guides you through it. So for example, with grounding, this is one of those very popular mindfulness type exercises. And it really just helps us to get back into reality and back into the moment, especially when our emotions, when it's just becoming a bit overwhelming. And so we know as adults, we get very overwhelmed in these moments, but so do kids. And sometimes kids don't know what to do with those emotions. Those are very big emotions for them. So being able to kind of walk alongside them and help them with the different strategies is a great idea. As a teacher, you can use this if you're having any type of like live web classroom moments. You can start with some of these types of exercises to just kind of check in with them and help ground them. So with grounding, it's going to be about really focusing on what's around you and bringing you back to the current moment. So real quick and easy, you can just simply look around and find 3 things that you can see. So right now, if I look around, I can see the computer, I can see a window, I can see my walls. And that just helps to bring me back to the present moment. And then last here, they have a kind of a physical activity where they say clap and rub your hands together to be able to hear noise and feel sensation. But I'm going to show you a different strategy that you can use as well. So it's called the butterfly hug if you're not familiar. So I'm going to hold my hands up like this in the screen. So I'm hoping you guys can see, but you're basically making like a butterfly with your hands. Okay. And you want your palms to face you, your body. And you're going to take that butterfly and you're going to place it in the center of your chest. And then from there, we just close our eyes and we slowly tap back and forth with each of the butterfly wings. Just nice and slow. And this is a great way for students to self-regulate. It's great for us as adults as well to kind of bring us back to the center. And it helps to just slow our breathing and help to calm us down. So what I like about that butterfly, the butterfly hug, is that no, it doesn't have to be this drastic butterfly so that everybody knows what I'm doing and it's just flapping around and distracting. I could simply just put my hands on my chest and just touch slowly back and forth. And no one even has to know what's happening. So I can do that anywhere and it's not this big display where everybody's like, what is she doing? I can do it nice and slow to myself, and it just reminds me to get centered and bring me back and ground me. Yeah.
Can you stop for a second and do it a little higher? People are having a hard time seeing what you're doing with your hands.
Okay, so
Thank you.
butterfly,
Perfect.
test.
It works. It totally works.
And then just tap one at a time, nice and slow.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
I love it.
And the other thing you can attach with this is when you're closing your eyes, we call it our happy place, you know, usually in counseling, you know, maybe you have a happy place that you know about that you want to stop and think about when you're tapping. Or if you don't have a specific place that you know, just a place that you really enjoy or a place that brings peace to you. It might be a place you've been to, it might be a place that you've never been, but you want to go and you just kind of associate that place with peace. And you can just simply close your eyes and just tap, slowly tap.
Wonderful. Dr. McCabe, I was just thinking as you were talking, I don't know if I'm going to win Parent of the Year this year, because I think with everything that's going on, like you said, our kiddos have a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings that they're trying to process. And I know with my own kids that fear or anxiety or any of those emotions often come out as just naughty behaviors sometimes.
Yes.
And
yeah,
as a parent or as an educator even, I know sometimes, you know, I'm caught up in what I'm doing. And so I'm like, be good, don't do that. Instead of sitting back and doing what you're saying and sort of reflecting on why they have those behaviors.
Yeah, so much, I mean, behavior always is communicating something to us. So it's kind of being that detective of figuring out what exactly is this behavior trying to communicate to us. There's so much associated with this with right now, and the students not being able to go to school, not really feeling like they have choice. That really makes it so uncertain for them and they don't feel in control. And so when someone doesn't feel in control, then they're just kind of grasping for anything that they can get their hands on. And so a lot of times that comes out very emotional. Sometimes it's the crying or the tantrums and the fits. Sometimes it's anger. And fear and anger are very similar emotions. We don't really, I mean, we think like, oh, I'm scared or oh, I'm angry. They seem very different. But when we actually feel them in our brain, they actually feel very similar. And so because they could be scared of not knowing what's to come, that could actually be coming out in these angry, more physical type aggressive tantrums and things like that.
Thank you for reminding me of that. That's something that I needed, and I bet a lot of other parents out there need that as well. So
yeah, sometimes it's just really being able, I'm just being candid with them and age appropriate, but you know, wow, I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to feel right now. I'm kind of feeling a little bit nervous, and being able to say that, you know, I bet you're feeling a little nervous too. Let's talk about it. Or maybe there's something we can do. Maybe we can sit and we can do some stretches together. Or maybe we can breathe together. Or maybe we can do a butterfly hug. I know with I have two, they're 8 and 12, or 8 and 11, about to be 9 and 12 next month. And sometimes I just have to, the oldest needs just held. He just needs grounded. Like, just let me just hold you, because it's just so much and my body just needs to stay still, you know, and feel that. And so we do that.
Super important. Thank you.
Awesome. And while you guys were talking, I remembered what I was trying to think of the other just a little bit ago. It's called zones of regulation. So look it up. I actually got to observe a speech pathologist doing it. It was what I was talking about, where we ask them how they're feeling in the morning, and there's a different color for each zone, and then having them reflect on it throughout the day. I actually used it in my first Zoom session I had with my college students after we were all told we weren't going back to campus, because some of them were very stressed out. And I was like, okay, we're going to take a minute. What zone are you in? And how can we help you get out of the red zone or the yellow zone? So you can use it for adults, use it for yourself, you know, because I've had days like when you were talking about working with our kids at home, where I realized I'm frustrated and mommy needs a break. And then I will return and be happier and be able to work with you. And that's totally okay. You know, we have to be okay with when we have those moments too. So as teachers, you guys supporting, basically you're, you know, supporting the parents and how to help their kiddos. So they might be frustrated when you talk to them, help them realize that's okay to feel frustrated, and let's work through it, you know, one day at a time.
Dr. Dyer, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Dan Utek in our chat, who has typed in that resource as well. So he came up with the zones of regulation and taught at a school where that was a school-wide approach.
Oh, I love
Very
it.
Fascinating, right? So just wanted to let you know that, yes, they're listening to you.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you. Awesome. And then next we're going to look at some social stories. So some of you may be familiar with social stories. I love social stories, again, because I love with anything with pictures for our visual learners, and then for our learners that might have a limited vocabulary, they might struggle with communication. So pictures, it's a great way to communicate with them. This particular one is specific to what's happening in our world right now, because that may be very difficult to communicate to some students and very difficult for them to understand. So you can walk them through this social story, let them ask questions, let them point to the different pictures if they want more explanation of what's happening. I like the idea of going through it. You know, maybe you help a parent go through it with their kiddo in Zoom or something. And then if possible, encourage them to print it out and just have it around, because that's a great way. If that child's starting to feel anxious and they're not able to communicate, it's because of this craziness, they can go maybe pick that social story up and take it to their parent and say, can we talk about this again? Because I'm feeling a little anxious about it, and they can walk through it. I've seen quite a few social stories out there. There's lots of free resources, but I liked this particular one. I don't know if there we go. I was going to say, hopefully we can look at it a little closer. So this one's just talking about what is the coronavirus. Basically, what does it mean, you know, to us? I think you're able to go to the whole story. Maybe. Let's see if it works. Here we go. So it talks about, you know, people feeling unwell, what we need to do if that does happen. Well, we're all staying home. If you keep going. So I like here, it has a picture of the school and, you know, it's crossed out. So maybe that will help them understand, okay, school's closed for everyone. It's not just, you know, the situation I'm in. And then a positive, schools will reopen again. We don't know what that's going to look like, but hey, you know, we understand that's confusing for you, but it will reopen again. Talks about doing that schoolwork at home, that's going to be different, but we're home safe and happy with our family, and that's really important right now. I saw another one that I really liked as well that had pictures of different people with masks, because I've heard parents saying, you know, for the most part, they're keeping their kiddos at home, but when they are taking their kiddos out, if really needed, that's kind of unnerving to see people everywhere in masks. So that might be a really great resource too, finding a social story that has different people with masks, talking about why we're doing that and that it's not scary, that, you know, it's a reason we're just keeping each other safe. So something you can maybe talk to your parents about, you know, what do you feel like is maybe making your child anxious, and help them find maybe a social story that would help their child understand a little better.
Dr. Dyer, I just wanted to share that we actually have a tip of the day, and it is an app. It's available on both Android and iOS. It's called Visual Schedules and Stories.
Nice.
I don't know if you've used it before or seen it before, but I know my son carries an iPad around. It's his best friend.
Right.
And so I was thinking that would be good for him too. However, I do love the print. You can't beat having those around the house as well.
Right. Yeah. But I love that to have right on his iPad. That's really cool. Awesome. And then I think next we're going to talk about the third strategy with Dr. McCabe.
So the third strategy is going to be staying connected. So you want to keep in close contact, whether you are the teacher or the parent here in this moment. You want to work one-on-one with each other. So as the teacher, sometimes we're not getting as much attendance with our students coming to like our live sessions and things like that. And so we have to really meet the students where they are. And if that means that a schedule doesn't fit to meet at 11 o'clock, you know, on Tuesdays so that everybody in the class can come together, that we take the time to find that special time that's going to work to meet with that student one-on-one, so that we can kind of give them that familiarity of of them seeing me as the teacher, and give them that sense that everything's okay, that we're going to be able to get through this, and while it looks different and it's not our typical classroom, that we're still able to learn. And so then when those situations can occur where you as the teacher maybe can work on one-on-one with the student, also being able to encourage the parent or caregiver to be able to work one-on-one with the student. So as we know, as the parent, they know their child very well, but also as the teacher, you know how that child learns really well as well. So being able to help the parent with that transition, bridging school to home. So if I know that the student really responds well to having, an if-then chart, so that they like that visual of like going back to those visual schedules and stuff, that if we do our math, then we can pick this fun activity. So you're kind of giving that child then that ability to make a choice, feel a little bit more in control, but it's also something that they're used to doing at school too. If the student is used to counting blocks at school, then maybe we see, do you have blocks at home? Or maybe that looks, maybe get the Legos, to try to just make it as comparable as possible for what they were used to at school, doing that at home as well for them. And then just do lots of check-ins. This is a great time to be able to support the parents and the caregivers. Check-ins, whether it's emails, maybe remind text messages, phone calls, maybe you hop on Zoom like this and work with them like that, but just really checking in. We want to be able to support the parents and the students so that we can meet all of their needs and help with some learning.
Okay, and I think that brings us to the end of our content. Thank you so much, Dr. Dyer and Dr. McCabe, for all those wonderful strategies. I think we are ready for our tool master. I think our tool master probably has quite a few things to share. So if you want to go ahead and pop that in the chat, that would be wonderful, and we'll take a look at what you came up with. While we're waiting for that, if we think about our takeaways, so I gave you a heads up at the beginning, Dr. Dyer and Dr. McCabe, if you could maybe share, if you wanted us to take away one thing from today's webinar, what would that be?
I think, and this is something I think is a theme just as educators, that as we are navigating this new world, relationships are going to be the priority, making sure we continue the relationship with the student, and maybe our relationship with the parents is different now. Maybe they're involved in a different way, but focusing on those relationships first, and then that will lead to being able to work on the academic success as well.
Absolutely wonderful. And how about you?
I concur with that. I definitely, right, relationships are number one for me as an educator always. So I think that that continues on. It just looks a little bit different. And I think really trying to take the stress off of ourselves as educators so much with the learning piece, and really going back to strategy 2 as well, and focusing on that social emotional piece as well. We really want the students to feel safe and secure, and help reassure them that everything's going to get back to normal and be okay, even though it might look a little bit different. So when we can help with those emotions and stuff, that really helps prep them to be able to learn better too.
Thank you. Thank you for those wonderful reminders and takeaways. I know I'm definitely going to take them away personally, as well as an educator. So thank you so much. And while you two were chatting, Cynthia just blew us away with our tools in the chat. So Cynthia, you did an amazing job. Look at this list of things that we have. Corey, did you have a chance to take a look at it?
It's huge. I'm so in awe of Cynthia. Can you come every week and be our tool master?
Right.
Bravo. Yeah, I think that's a testament to Dr. Dyer and Dr. McCabe, and how much they've really shared, because a tool isn't just technology tool, and it's there's just so many. I mean, I was butterflying myself. And then I gave myself a hug from what the chat had said. Like, I'm not kidding you. I'm going to have a printed version of a social story next to my computer. This has been very helpful for me as an adult. So, you know, clearly I'm a special needs adult, and there's no question there. I think my team will concur. Thank you, Cynthia. Way to go. Way to go. That was awesome. Lots of different tools and takeaways.
Okay. Well, Corey, if you'd like to continue and sort of share with us what we have to come in the next week or two, so people can come back and join us for some more webinars.
Absolutely. I tell you what, maybe, just maybe, some of the influence was from my own teenage son, who was not exactly motivated to do his math homework. So next week we'll be looking at motivating online learners at 10 a.m. And then at 3:30 p.m. we invite you all to join us for the Arizona School Board Association webinar. That is a very exciting webinar, and we'd love for you to be there. I have the link in this presentation. So when you go over to the YouTube show notes, the link will be there, and perhaps Carol will pop that link in as well right here. We'd love for you to register for that ASBA webinar. That's the Arizona School Boards Association webinar. You're going to get a lot of tips and tricks there as well. In addition to that, we have project-based learning coming up. We have a lot of great resources to share with you in regards to project-based learning, and remote learning is project-based. So we'd love for you to be a part of that on May 13th. And then, of course, May 20th. And as we move towards, you know, this month, that as I say, I just didn't realize we'd be here for this long, but we're excited to be here alongside of you, May 20th and May 27th. It'll be based on your feedback. So perhaps in that chat, in the chat, we'll put again the survey link, and in that survey link, you'll have a chance to put your feedback. That's what we want to know. We are so blessed to be able to bring you customized topics, customized professional development. It's a little different. I think Dr. Dyer mentioned earlier, you get overwhelmed with so many resources, right? I think everyone means well. Here's a bazillion resources, but especially in a special education situation, you probably don't want to give your parents or students too much. Would you agree with that, Dr. Dyer?
Yes, I definitely agree. We need to make it manageable.
So that's what we're doing for you here, is trying to make it manageable. So next week, join us for motivating our online learners, and for the Arizona School Boards Association webinar, and for others as we move along. So I'm really excited as well to finish with our why, but after I get finished with that, Dr. Dyer, Dr. McCabe will take us through our prayer. So remember, we are here to empower, educate, and inspire our community, so that they take action to fulfill their purpose and to serve others. I just want to let you know that sometimes, if it's emotional pain or physical pain, sometimes it helps to use the purpose to reshape and give perspective to that pain. So I want you to take your why today, all of those wonderful strategies. We know our parents and students are dealing with some issues, and if we can reshape that perspective and say there's purpose behind it, I think that would help. So thank you. I can't express enough how excited I am to bring all of these tools back to my teaching practice, Dr. Dyer, Dr. McCabe. And with that, we'd like to finish the content piece of the webinar. And encourage you to fill out our webinar evaluation to give us some feedback. And also, we're going to move into the prayer for next for the next slide here. So if you need to pack up and go, that's fine. Just please make sure that you fill out that webinar survey for us. And then also we'd like to start off into the prayer. Amanda, you're on. What would you like to say?
I just want to remind everybody, if you are enjoying our webinar, of course you need to take our survey, but also if you're interested in those upcoming events, you just use the same link. You will go through the same little registration that you had to get into this webinar, but you can save that link because you can just use that every week to come back and see the great content.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for jumping on and clarifying that. Same link, same time, same people, except for our experts today. So we appreciate that you're going to be in YouTube forever, or however long it's going to be there. So thank you for that. So we appreciate your time, your expertise, and your talents. And now if you both would lead us in our prayer, that would be great.
Absolutely. So today we're going to look at 2 Corinthians verses 8 through 13, or chapter 8 through 13. Our desire is not that others might be relieved while you are hard pressed, but that there might be equality.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and pray. Dear Lord, thank you so much today for these passionate educators, for bringing all of us together to talk about our passion in supporting our students. We know that we are in a different time in this world and we may not know exactly how to navigate our job. Lord, help us to remember that you give us grace and we can give ourselves grace as teachers, a lot of us as parents managing our job and taking care of our own kiddos. Just help us to remember that your grace covers all of that. Give us the endurance to work through the rest of the school year in supporting our students and the parents. And I pray that we'll just look forward to the time that we still get with our students, but just in a different way. And we thank you, Lord, for everything you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you both so much.